called the constant multiple rule. And that means that what I'm kind of trying to differentiate is some constant times some function. And essentially, the way the derivative works, and by the way, this is the downside of brief calculus, because in the engineering calculus, you study limits extensively, and then you understand why this rule is the way it is. In brief calculus, we study limits briefly, and as a result, you end up with a series of rules instead without that limit foundation as to why that happens to be true. But for most of you don't care why it's true, you just do it. That's brief calculus for you. And so what is it? It's the constant times the derivative of the function. And we don't even quite use it that way either. So what would this be? Well, and in this particular instance, df dx, which is the derivative with respect to x of 5x cubed, using the constant multiple rule, is 5 times the derivative with respect to x of x cubed, which is 5 times, what's the derivative of x cubed? 3x squared, or 5 times 3 is 15x squared. By the way, which is what you would have gotten had you done this thing the long way. Normally, this is what you do. If I want f of x being equal to 5x cubed, then f prime of x is 5 times 3x squared. In other words, you don't break it into the stupid two pieces. You take this times the coefficient and drop x by a power. Mathematically speaking, that's what you're doing. You're taking 5 times the derivative of x cubed. This is called the sum and difference rules. Another one we tend to ignore once we get on a roll. And it says the derivative of a sum is equal to the sum of the individual derivatives. Other notation you might use is primes. F of x plus g of x prime is f of x prime plus g of x prime. What in the heck is it actually saying to you? This says to you, we differentiate term by term. That's all it's doing. Take one term at a time. Theoretically, I'd look at this and say, well, what is f prime of x? Well, f prime of x is the derivative with respect to x of 5x plus the derivative with respect to x of 2x cubed. That I actually do in my head. I don't usually write it down. Well, technically speaking, it's 5 times the derivative with respect to x of x plus 2 times the derivative with respect to x of x cubed which is 5. What's the derivative of x with respect to x? That's dx. Oh, sorry. What's dx divided by dx? 1. Plus 2. What's the derivative of x cubed with respect to x? 3x squared, which is 5 plus 6x squared. That's a lot of work. F prime of x equals, term by term, 5 times the exponent on x is 1, correct? 1x to the 1 minus 1 plus 2 times exponent on the x is 3, x to the 3 minus 1, which is 5x to the 0 plus 6x to the 2, which is just 5 plus 6x squared. You just differentiate term by term. Or you could use all of the rules if you like.